to get to the more formal, well, the informal part of our discussion tonight. I don't know how the rest of you spent your summer, but I certainly did not spend my summer as interestingly as these two people did. So we're fortunate tonight. Beatrice Stock is going to talk about her trip to France, and Reg Beatty is going to talk about a trip he made to Idaho and a workshop that he took out there. And I just can't imagine anything that would have been a nicer way to spend the summer. So I'd like you please to welcome Beatrice Stock. She's one of the bookbinders who's been in the city for a number of years and is a member of Cabbage. Please welcome Beatrice.
I'm going to talk to you. Thank you for coming to listen and view some papers from France. I'm going to show you some papers and talk a little bit about some places I went to in July. I usually, for maybe almost 3 decades, I've been going steadily to Paris because I have to. This is the first time I had a chance to go away to some more interesting places. And I don't seem to find any more interesting trips than going to book or paper places. So the first location where I went was in the south of France, and I had met in 1991 a bookbinder named Marc Roger who introduced himself at a conference, and he was from Montaulieu. The description of his village sounded intriguing, and it started me off with the idea and hope for a visit one day. And that was my first opportunity to go there and visit. Montaulieu, or Montis Olivis, or Mont des Oliviers, is situated 17 kilometers from the fortified town of Carcassonne. It's also about an hour away from Toulouse. It's in the Pyrenees, very, very close to Spain, in that area. And Montaulieu has a long history. It's built on a rock, and it was also a fortified town during at about the time of Charlemagne, and then it was destroyed and rebuilt and burnt, and it went over many centuries of wars and chaotic things. And in the past, the latest 200 years, until about the turn of this century, it became a very industrialized town with manufacturers for textiles, and mainly woolen textiles, and also a paper mill. And there was actually a lot of paper mills in this area, and the papers were actually carried, imported to Holland by boat, of course, and the papers were shipped to Toulouse, and then through the Garonne River, and then shipped off to Holland, where all the books were being printed and published, and then they came back to France. Very easy way to do things, but that was the way. So for about 200 years, that was the production of paper there was quite important. So le Village du Livre, the book village, was the idea of Marcel Bréban, a bookbinder from Carcassonne, and it was created in 1989, which is not very long ago. And I think it's a good time to go now, because 10 years from now it will be invaded by tourists, and which they won't, but it will make the place a lot less charming than it is now. This village is actually has a lot of mainly book dealers and printers, calligraphers, one bookbinder, and everything that is touching the book arts and the graphic arts in general is done there. They're artists, and now they are creating workshops and readings, poetry readings, um, writing workshops, and everything related to the book and to the art of the book is there, and getting very much more organized. But it's still a little bit rough. There are quite a few English book dealers, and the people are from all over the place. The bookbinder is actually someone from the north of France. The calligrapher is from Brittany, and everybody comes from various places, so that they make a very lively type of crowd. And every week they have a market, a book fair, and they have special programs, and they invite children to come and follow workshops from schools and organize all that kind of thing. And it has attracted quite a few people. It has been popular, and there are a lot of ideas there was quite a few ideas to take from this. I'm going to show you some photographs of Montolieu, which I have here. And I wasn't as courageous as Reg doing this, who did lots of slides of his trip. I just put them on this. This is the way down to the to actually the manufacture, the old manufacture, and this is the entrance, and it's very, very run down. It's one part of it is in ruins. Actually, I should have shown you a photo of. I have here a sort of a postcard of Montolieu that you can pass around. Maybe you can have an idea of the village. That is an interesting place. It was the most, I really concentrated on this because, focused on it because I had very little time, and of course I thought the idea, well, it's okay, you can go from one book dealer to the next, and you can visit the the calligrapher, which I did, and all kinds of places. But this place sort of attracted me for its ideas in the way of teaching, and it's just in the ruins. It was made up in the ruins of this old textile manufacturer, and there is one huge room which is quite clear, and you have it's all organized in. If you imagine this room and you enter this way, you would have the paper making area, which is here. Where is getting confused here? Right here, where you enter, and then behind it you have, which is here, you have right behind it you have the marbling, and then the printing, and you still go to printing, and they go on to making books here. So that a lot of children come through here for or grown-ups, in fact. You will find here some details of what happens in the village as far as programming is concerned. But the workshops are organized for 5 days, and they provide lodgings and this kind of very, very, very casual type of setup. In fact, there are no hotels in Montolieu, so you might as well plant your tent and be on the spot. So that's and the concept is I thought was very, very interesting, because the children who were there at the time were quite fascinated by the whole process, and so they end up doing. Here you have, well, you see the paper making here, and you can look at these photographs maybe afterwards a little more closely. Here are the little books finished, and the calligrapher of the village is also quite Thomas is it's such a funny person that you just you can't stop laughing with him, and he's just, you come in the shop and he's already talking to 10 people, but he will just start talking to you and engage into a conversation and engage everybody into another conversation, and he seems to be that's his thing. He just does that. He could stay there forever. He seemed to have planted his stand there, in fact, and he's just there for the people, talking about calligraphy, and it's just wonderful. There's a wonderful feeling there. And then here you'll see, this is Marc Roger, whom I first met, who introduced me to that village, and he has a very nice shop too, in an old house, and I took a photograph of his sewing frame, which was quite extravagant too. With it's better explained. Well, the picture speaks for itself. He has everything hanging there and attached in various ways which are a little bit unusual, and I think they were described in one of the Technorama journals. So that's for Montolieu, and I'll leave these pictures over there on the side. And just outside of Montolieu, there is a paper mill, which is about, I would say about 10 kilometers from Montolieu, not even that. And it's called, it's in the village of Brousse. And wait a minute, don't let me, I'm just trying to figure out which one is. Yeah, the paper mill's activity started around 1674, and it was among the most flourishing mill of the Languedoc. And it's situated along the Dure. The Dure is the little river which runs, which comes from gorge. There are gorges and running along down into Montolieu, and we're actually providing the water for the textile manufacture there. So it was used as for mills in general. Monsieur Durand, the owner, recently took over the mill, but his father or his grandfather worked there until the mill went out of business some years ago, I think about 20 years ago. He's actively restoring the machinery and the buildings. The grounds are being planted with all kinds of interesting wildflowers and trees. It is absolutely it's a beautiful site. You see the 4 pictures as you come in here. There are olive trees and fig trees and all kinds of nice vegetations, and it goes along the Dure, and you arrive at this mill. It's wild. It's very wild and very beautiful. I couldn't really describe it. As far as the mill is concerned, it doesn't do very much. It's still not functioning very, very well. It's not producing a great deal of paper. They are still at the restoration stage of the mill, but you can see all the machinery. They have a Belge, an old. Actually, this Belge pile was from the 50s, I think, just before the mill closed down. And these are turn-of-the-century hydraulic machines which bring up the water up to this floor here. And they do have a calendering machine here, but they don't have that, and the equipment is not working yet. So what they do is they do make some little sheets of paper, but I thought that the most interesting, it will become eventually a very nice, a very beautiful site. And I think they are serious about what they are doing in terms of paper. But what I'm showing here to you tonight from this mill is this special paper, which is made of from local fiber from elephant turd. So there's a local zoo where they go and get the turd, and they clean the turd in the water of of the Dure, and the water recycles itself, and this actually fantastic fiber. I did put my hand in a batch of fiber, just fiber, clean fiber, and it's long fiber, beautiful fiber. Apparently elephants are the best producers of this type of fiber, and they do produce it very fast, and it's and it's undigested, so it's it goes so it makes beautiful, beautiful type of fiber. Eventually they'll do something great, but I thought that was interesting. Don't be afraid to touch it. And they apparently, I didn't know this at all, because I know I do love paper, but I didn't know also you could make a lot of people make paper from horse turd. So that's quite common, but it's much harder to get. You have to go behind the horse, and you don't know you don't know where it's going to drop, and But at the local zoo is a good source of fibers, and very cheap, apparently. But yes, people want it. So apparently, a lot of people want it for this purpose. Well, they you can do whatever you want with it. But you can write a letter, for instance. So, you don't have to tell, your lover or whoever, whoever you're writing to, that it's elephant. It depends who you're writing to. You could take horse shit paper, or you could take elephant turd, or you can take, whatever. It's I don't know. Maybe I was the only one not to know that elephant turd made good fiber. How many people knew that? You did? No, but I didn't know. Well, yes, it's a very, very excellent fiber. It's undigested fibers. They go very fast, and they turn very fast. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's where the cellulose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We knew this because Linda actually brought us in. Linda Lee brought us in something that was published on it, and I must say I was doubtful, but now we know it's true.
But it's true.
We have evidence.
Now that's all I actually got from them. But you're welcome to take a piece, as you'll be welcome to take samples cut yourself a little sample of the other papers I'm going to show. So anyway, that's for this Montolieu, and I also brought a book about the area, which has beautiful photographs of Carcassonne and Toulouse, and all the Cathar country castles who are totally in ruins. And this is not at all the Loire Valley. Everything is pretty rough, but very absolutely touching. It really touches your heart, your soul. So I'd never been to this part of France, so I was very happy to be there. And I'm afraid I did intend to stay a couple more days, but my traveling partner was more interested in the restaurants, and I had to go. But I did see what I wanted to see in the sense that I captured the sense of a village which is totally involved with books and graphic arts and printing and the arts in general, and paper making and people who, the atmosphere, this atmosphere, warm atmosphere, and it was worth being there. I'm sure I would, if I had stayed there, I would have found a lot of books that I would have bought and with no money, so it was better that I left. On visa, it's not very good. So after that, I went to Angoulême, and this is a place of, this is a, wait a minute. I will show you two, I visited in Angoulême, which is in the Charente, much more north. And if you want to situate Angoulême on the map, if you know France a little bit, you might know where Cognac is. So if you know where Cognac is, it's about 50 kilometers. It's a nice, it's a very nice area, and which has a lot of vines. It's quite rich in vines, and it's still quite warm because it's still not, it's not the south of France, but it's still quite, it still has this feel of the warmth of the south. And Angoulême is also near Poitiers, or near the Vendée, near in that area, southwest, really. And that was Angoulême was a town for the Angoulémois was a main center for manufacturing paper for centuries. And there are still two major paper mills who are very active there. One is Puy-Moyen, and one is the Moulin du Verger. Now they're completely different. One is well, I will first show you Puy-Moyen, and also that was quite an experience because it's situated 5 kilometers from Angoulême, but it's on the road to nowhere, so it's kind of difficult to find. And there is this, you arrive at the mill, at the entrance of the mill through a little road, and there is a fallen down little panel, broken and all, with sort of written Puy-Moyen, Moulin du Verger. So you know that you're there, but you just wonder what's there's that funny little house with cobwebs, and everything is shut down. At least it was shut down. So we looked around, and in fact, we could see that the building looked like a mill, and we could see that it was. We thought it was not in use anymore. It was so rough. The exterior was so rough, and the vegetation is wild. It's not kept up or anything like this. Well, this is roughly, give or take, this is a glorified Puy-Moyen, Moulin du Verger, and these are the drying attics. There was nobody when I went there. I don't know where this comes from. I can't remember. But I do know the truck, the van of Didier, who arrived after half an hour. We were sitting there just wandering around. This little van arrived, and a casual person came out, and it was Didier, the paper maker, who said, "Oh yes, oh yes, oh well, I didn't know you were going to, anybody was going to show up, you know. I just happened to be here, you know, really." So he opened up for us, and we had a wonderful time, and showed us the mill. But his van looks like the mill too. It sort of blends in. It's caricature type of place. But this is he's like a pioneer. North American people would really like this. I think relate more to this because his idea is more of he he has more of a pioneer soul than anything. He investigates paper and he's passionate about paper. He used to make des chaudrons, not copper cauldrons, yes, and got into paper making. And actually, he worked at. I think he was quite connected with Barkham Greens, and he had heard of Timothy Barrett. He was quite well aware of the best paper makers in North America, and he's very, very, very relaxed. That's him here, but that is the room where the voltage. This is a really well. I have a little bit of a description somewhere here. It's privately. It is a privately owned paper mill, the Verger mill. It's 5 kilometers from it. It's a listed monument of the Puy-Moyen municipality and stands along the small river des Eaux Claires, or clear waters, which gave its name to the valley. It is the last authentical surviving evidence of a 4.5 centuries paper-making tradition in the Charente. So it has been there used for, but I think it has been used at some point for wheat as a wheat mill. But it stayed. It has been. It is now reused, and it has kept up its original material, some of its original materials. In the room is, of course, a stone. It's a stone building, and it's vaulted like a cave, more like a cave, and the water comes, runs along, comes up through hydraulic, with hydraulic machinery, up into this stone groove here, and you can see it coming here and runs into the tubs here and is carried through tubes, etc. And so he has a Hollander and a vat for paper making, for the pulp. He has many of them, 1, 2 here. He has 3 altogether, which are not used all at this. Well, some are. They look like they were being used. I mean, some flowers were drying up on the rack, and he uses the English frames and English-made materials. And the most amazing, he makes his paper from rags, recycled rags from the area only, linen or cotton, and claims that it's getting pretty hard to find, but there are still loads of them. The attics in France are full of them. So of old beddings, and so it's still not as hard to find as, they're still using them. But that's what he starts with. He starts with the pure linen, and there was a little pile here which I took a snapshot of. And he uses wait a minute. It does place alkaline reserves, and he has these. I have the description of the. If you want to, of the adhesive that he uses as a collant to add in the pulp. So this is a description of what he uses, and plus an alkaline reserve with it. But otherwise, it's pure fiber, and he does not do any polishing or surface treatment after that. So these are the most the racks where he dries the sheets, and the attic is 70 meters long. It's the longest drying attic in France, and it's very run down and quite dirty. There's still the hooks, the original hooks, which attached the to hang the paper sheets. Some of them. Otherwise, he uses some wood racks to dry. But I think originally they were used. They were cords used there, but now he uses wood. What else could I tell you about this one? I can't remember. All along you have the shutters, which are also very run down, but the whole place actually does not have any cobweb, because this particular attic does not have any cobwebs, because it's built with chestnut trees, which repulses insects and this kind of bugs, but bugs and mainly cobwebs, which are a problem. Anyway, you'll find here, afterwards you can look at them and you can look at the pictures, and if you have any questions you can ask me. And there are the addresses. Now, Monsieur Jacques Bréjou, who's actually the owner of the place, these people are in trouble, in financial trouble, and Jacques Bréjou, who is the owner of the place, has just opened recently a place in Paris where he does some teaching, papermaking teaching, and I didn't visit him there. I thought the mill was a much better, well, I didn't have the opportunity to visit him, but it was more interesting in any case to see the mill. They make their main loads of production here at the mill. And actually Didier is the only person who works there now. So he's completely overwhelmed by everything. He can't just do everything. So he just takes care of the most urgent matter, and the rest of the time does the paper making. There is quite a bit of stock, and he does produce on consignment. He will produce the paper that you want to use. And I saw some drawing cards, cardboard, a special order of drawing boards, which were absolutely magnificent. So here are a few of his papers, and I picked quite a variety here. There is an Islamic paper which is unfinished, and there are several tones of papers here. The Dutch blue, and this is a bamboo type paper. This is a mixed fiber paper, all mixed fiber, cotton and linen, mixed fibers, and this is the heavy linen paper, and another one which is a heavier but a linen paper with a more refined pulp. So he claims that he can never make two papers the same way. I can well imagine, but he actually produces quite large volumes of large batches, which are quite evenly produced with a good production, and so it's. I thought these papers were probably the most came from had a feel of a terroir. You know, they were investigative, and they were more interesting than the usual type of papers you find in the variety, and the quality. Of course, I haven't had a chance to test and done any mechanical testings or pH, read the pH or worked with them yet. So I wouldn't be able to tell you at this stage whether they are advisable or good or whatever, but I was quite seduced by the quality and the content and what I've seen in terms of the paper making, the way he made his papers. So I thought it was altogether quite valuable. So here I have his card and the address of the place in Paris where the owner has just set up his workshop. And at the back here you have a little history for the French readers who want to read about it. Now, about the same numbers of kilometers from Angoulême, there is another paper mill who is actually a very flourishing mill because it's subsidized. It's Le Moulin de Florac is listed, is a listed monument and belongs to the Charente Council in the municipality of Nersac and stand by the Charente River. The Charente runs through Angoulême and goes down. It's you can actually get to the mill by boat, taking a boat from Angoulême and go down the river on a sort of a crew. It's the grounds are charmingly formal, very well groomed. They have money, and the hand paper making tradition is continuous since the 18th century. There's never been they've never stopped making papers there. It may not have been as polished and as groomed as now, but it has been the tradition has stayed there. It is also a place where you can visit a beautiful garden. There are beautiful gardens, and people come there just to walk around, even though there was nobody when I was there, and it was actually the middle of July. But every single place where I've been, people try to attract. They have to live on a bit of tourism in order to survive, to make themselves attractive and known. These people don't have lots of order from government papers and stationery for the president and that kind of stuff. So they have they are very well off and very well set up. But this is the little house and the Charente, and here the waters go through, as in most mills. The water of the rivers go, or the mills are built over the rivers. This is the house from one side and the house from the other when you enter. and they have the old wood piles. That's the wheel, of course, and the Hollander. They make their papers from actually, and you will see that for book people, these are probably, I haven't used or tested anything, but you will be able to touch them and feel them and see that they are really very similar to what you would find in 17th, 18th century books. And when you have to find end leaves, it's sometimes so difficult that I thought that was the best find of all. But we'll see later on if they are as useful as I thought they were. Hopefully so. I did not, certainly they're made quite differently from the papers from Puy-Moyen in the sense that they are made from linen, from fibers, linen fibers which are prepared for from the mills, from textile mills in the north of France. And I have brought here, actually I took a little bit of this linen, so the papers are fantastic looking and feel fantastic, but the fiber, I don't know if I want to trust a fiber which comes from a textile manufacturer. If you want to pass it around, you can. And which has been bleached before. So otherwise, there is nothing used in the pulp, but they do gelatin bath afterwards, and they use the local animal gelatin, just a commercial animal gelatin, and they make they do these gelatin baths after the paper making, after the sheet is formed. So that's quite a different setup altogether. The ideas are totally different, and you're talking 10 kilometers, 2 mills 10 kilometers apart, and which are both traditional, but have completely different ideas about the way of going after the paper making. So it was, in fact, I think they don't like each other very much. Because one has money and is subsidized and is perfect and groomed and show a fabulous face and very organized, and the other one is struggling and does not know where it's going. But it doesn't, but I thought the papers of the other mills are, they have more, they're so different. It's very difficult to talk about it, because I thought the Puy-Moyen papers had body, and they have a certain crispness, and they're very attractive in terms of paper. The other ones from Florac are perfect. Like you get this paper making to a T. Just absolutely beautiful, produced exactly the same way as it was, in the 17th, 18th century, and it's never changed, and it's beautiful, but I don't think it has as much character as the other ones. Probably a lot more useful, but for book people, but with not quite as much character as the others. These, yes, they at this mill they use only the French made frames, and There's only, I think there's only one place which makes them in the Vosges, but I'm not sure. Nobody uses them anymore except them that I have seen. And everything is immaculate, but they do make paper. They actually produce. There are two people who actually produce constantly, but it's all clean. And this is the cauldrons or the vat in which they do the gelatin sizing. So I think they take the sheets in packs, in quite large packs, and dip them all together. But that we didn't see that, and they keep it for themselves. On the other side of this building is another building which I don't have a photograph of, which are the drawing, a completely new stone building, and it's where everything also is absolutely immaculate, and the drying racks are not wood; they're twine hanging perfectly, and the shutters are beautiful and work perfectly. And then downstairs there is a little museum with all kinds of little things like paper making machines and a printing machine, and they don't do much printing. At Puy Moyen they do a little bit of printing too. All these places do also printing and sell postcards and little things for the public and things to order, but nothing really fabulous to talk about. Just to these I don't know if I'd never seen one, and they had two of these. These are, I mean, they use these this pulp from these prepared fibers, the fibril, but these are the old benches where they used to cut the linen sheets with the blades coming up on the stools. So I thought it might be an interesting gadget to show if you want to manufacture one at home. Be a good idea. So these papers are here, and the posters, and this is a full sample. I only bought this type of papers that I'm showing here tonight, but they also have a whole set of organized samples, and some are quite interesting for oil paintings on paper and various other things. So if you want to look at them, that's fine. And if you want to, I brought a knife, and if you want to cut yourself a little piece and mark down what it is, I have marked down what the price list is here of these and of the others too. I've written some prices there. So if you want to cut yourself a little piece to take home, I'll be happy to do that for you. Thank you. That's all.